Well, good evening and welcome to our VoteVets Live DNC Primetime special tonight. 2020 Democratic National Convention, as Vice President Joe Biden will deliver his speech as the nominee of the Democratic Party. We'll also hear from two VoteVets endorsed candidates tonight, U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois and former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who, of course, was a candidate in this year's Democratic primary. So tonight, we're going to get you ready for the big night by spending some time with Congressman Ted Liu, a familiar face to many of you who follow VoteVets, a great friend of VoteVets, and someone who's been leading the fight to stop Donald Trump's chaos show over these last 3.5 years. Congressman Liu, who I think will be having come in the room here shortly, represents California's 33rd district in Southern California. He was elected as president of the Democratic freshman class by his colleagues last term, and this Congress was elected as a vice chair of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. He was also appointed as an assistant Democratic whip. He serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman Liu served on active duty in the Air Force and continues to serve his country in the Air Force Reserves at the rank of colonel. Congressman Liu, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Will.
Now, we're going to talk about some news of the day, then tonight's big DNC speech lineup, and then we're also going to have some fun. This is something we haven't done yet this week. Well, we've had fun, but we've had policy-driven fun mostly. We're going to play some trivia, and we're also going to come up with some advice for Donald Trump and his folks, assuming we can send them packing in November. Sound like a plan, sir?
I look forward to it.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's start with that policy piece. You are on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. You're one of the best communicators also about what Donald Trump has done to our relations with other countries. So I want to start with the release this week of the Senate Intelligence Committee's fifth and final bipartisan report investigating Russian efforts to interfere in the 2016 election. There were some stunning revelations in the document that former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort passed internal Trump campaign information to a Russian intelligence officer during the 2016 election, being one of them. Congressman Liu, what's your reaction to the new revelations in that report? And does it tell us anything new that we didn't already know about Donald Trump and his operation?
Thank you, Will, for that question. Let me first of all thank VoteVets for everything that you do, for keeping on top of this story, and for continuing to highlight Democrats and veterans. In terms of this report, it's significant for two reasons. One is it's bipartisan. And two, it literally shows that Donald Trump's campaign manager was working with a Russian intelligence official to help Donald Trump's campaign. That is collusion. And those of us who were saying that this was collusion have been right all along. This report simply adds additional evidence. And the fact that we have a president who had a cheat to win in 2016 shows that he really shouldn't be there. And in 2020, if we all work together and get out the vote, we'll make sure he is no longer there.
Absolutely. And one of those themes we've been talking about on our VoteVets live events this week during the DNC is that, yes, Donald Trump has always used disgusting, disrespectful rhetoric. He did it towards service members and veterans in 2016. But now he also has a record, and that record includes enacting policies that bring that disrespect to life. We've talked a lot about his failings as commander-in-chief in a military context and attacks against different groups of personnel in the military. We haven't talked as much about his record on the world stage, relationships with other countries, backing away from the Paris Climate Accord, the JCPOA, et cetera. Can you grade President Trump on foreign policy and walk us through some of the worst moments that jump out to you over these last 3.5 years?
Absolutely. I give him a grade of F. I previously served on active duty in the U.S. Air Force. And at the time, America was respected and other countries knew where we stood. They understood our goals, our policies. If you were to ask very simple questions today of the Trump administration, such as, what is your strategy in North Korea? What are your goals in Syria? And how do we get to achieve those goals? They can't answer those questions. And that's why we have chaos in our foreign policy. You have different administration officials saying different things. So North Korea has been a total policy failure. Donald Trump keeps promising we're going to have a deal with North Korea. Not only do we not have a deal, based on public reporting, North Korea has actually increased nuclear fuel. They've also hidden some of their missile bases, and they've increased the number of missiles that they have. If you look at Syria, it continues to remain a disaster. And if you were to ask the Trump administration, who are we supporting? Hard for them to answer that question as well. And so we have a series of different policy failures around the world. And then we have a whole State Department that's been hollowed out with many vacant positions. We have an inspector general that Trump fired, and then a replacement inspector general for the State Department recently resigned. We have allegations of a cover-up of Secretary Pompeo and him using taxpayer resources for his own personal enrichment and that of his wife. So it is a very big mess right now in the foreign policy area.
Absolutely. And you talked about hollowing out talent at the State Department. We had Ambassador John Estrada on earlier this week, and we talked with him about just what it means to have someone who has, 30 years of experience, not just knowing what's happening in a country, but having relationships at the, career diplomat level intact. And that actually leads into the final piece of news I want to cover with you today. Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's longtime advisor, architect of his 2016 campaign, was charged with defrauding donors in a private fundraising effort called We Build the Wall, which was intended to crowdsource building a section of the president's long promised border wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. Apparently cheated hundreds of thousands of donors by falsely promising their donations would go to that project. He was also arrested on a yacht by Postal Service inspectors because it was a relevant fraud to their jurisdictions. There's some irony there with the war on USPS, but it's just the latest example when you talk about the caliber of people around the president. Do you think, what will it do? What do we have to do to make that matter? The fact that Donald Trump has these grifters around him, how do we make people care about that and understand how damaging that is to the senior levels of our government?
Well, my first thought upon reading that story is, why did Steve Bannon and other folks even have to start a We Build the Wall online fundraising thing? And it's because Donald Trump failed at one of his major promises, which was to build a wall. So Trump has, in fact, not done that. And so Steve Bannon knew that Trump was desperate and that his cult-like supporters would also be desperate. So they started this huge scam. And then the second thought I had, with Steve Bannon being arrested in this mega yacht, is that Steve Bannon and Donald Trump never respected MAGA supporters. They simply use them to enrich themselves. And I'm hoping that at least some of Trump's base will come to realize that they're just simply being used. And as you look at the number of grifters in this administration, the number of people that enrich themselves at the expense of public service and of the taxpayer, it really is quite shocking. And I think this is just another story in the whole line of stories we've seen with Trump administration officials putting themselves above that of the country. It's basically exactly the opposite of what military personnel and veterans believe in.
Absolutely. No, it is cruel to watch. The Postal Service is another example where, going after the Postal Service hurts rural America just as much as it hurts everyone else, in some ways even more, with USPS being the last mile of delivery where FedEx and others don't want to go, where it doesn't make financial sense. So that's a great segue into why we need to change this and how we can do it. So let's talk about the DNC. Last night, we heard from Senator Kamala Harris in her convention speech as our party's vice presidential nominee. You're both Californians. Tell us what you thought about Senator Harris's speech, and what do you know about her from serving in the delegation together that you can tell people watching at home?
Few people can follow an amazing Obama speech, and Kamala Harris is one of those few people. She gave a tremendous speech, and I'm just so thrilled that Joe Biden picked her as a vice president. My friend Kamala is amazing. She's tenacious, progressive, extremely brilliant. When I was in the California State Legislature, I was chair of banking, and then I moved to the state Senate and continued working on banking issues. Kamala Harris was Attorney General, and she secured a much better settlement for consumers against the big banks than otherwise would have happened had she not been Attorney General. It's one of the reasons I was one of Kamala Harris's, actually, I was her first member of Congress to endorse her for president. I'm so excited she's now the vice presidential candidate, and she is going to do a fantastic job with Joe Biden in the next administration.
Absolutely. Now, tonight, we're going to hear from another great lineup of Democratic leaders. I'll ask you about Vice President Biden in just a second, but who's another leader on that list that you're excited to hear from tonight? And looking back on the week, is there anything else that stood out to you that we should take into November?
I'm super excited to hear from VoteVets member Tammy Duckworth. She gave her blood and both her legs to this country. She is an amazing senator. She has an ability to not only introduce great legislation, but also fight back against Donald Trump. And she was also seriously considered by Joe Biden as a vice presidential candidate. So I look forward to Senator Duckworth's speech. And there were so many amazing moments this convention. Both Michelle and Barack Obama gave amazing speeches. I thought the video with Gabby Giffords was very, very moving. I love the national anthem segments that were done. I thought the roll call of states was super cool. So I really thought the DNC did a great job doing a convention with no live in-person audience.
Absolutely. And so many, I think people question whether you could get that authenticity and the real heartfelt connection doing it virtually, but whether it was Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, our next first lady, you mentioned Gabby Giffords, Cindy McCain coming in to narrate a piece about John McCain's relationship with Joe Biden. There was a lot of amazing stuff. And we're also going to hear, as you said, as we mentioned earlier, from the vice president tonight, his big speech as the party's nominee. What do you think we're going to hear from him? And then give us a little bit of a kind of sneak peek about the work that we have to do over the next 70 days.
Joe Biden is going to set a vision for America where he doesn't just want to bring us back to normal. He wants to build it back better. And so he's going to talk about how he's going to create good paying jobs for Americans. He's going to talk about how he's going to rely on doctors and experts when it comes to addressing this pandemic. The way we get our economy going again is to make sure we suppress and crush this virus. And right now, Donald Trump has failed at suppressing this virus. That's why not only have over 175,000 Americans died, but our economy is doing extremely poorly with millions of Americans who are still unemployed. Joe Biden is going to fix both of those issues and then present a vision of how we also make sure we tackle climate change as well as being a healer. What we need right now is someone's going to unite this country, and you're going to see an empathetic, charismatic, normal person, and that's going to be Joe Biden, and he's going to be the one that's going to win in November.
Absolutely, yeah. A normal person being really key. I mean, next week is the RNC. You think about where we are, and no former Republican Party presidents or nominees will be speaking at their convention. The Bush family will not be there. The McCains will not be there. Romney will not be there. But what do you think will be in store for America as they watch the RNC next week, and what will be the contrast between this week and that?
Well, we already know that two of their speakers is going to be that St. Louis couple that waved their guns at protesters. By the way, that is a crime. And so they're speaking at the RNC convention. Steve Bannon, by the way, is listed as a speaker. I assume they'll take him off, but who knows? And then I saw today that Delta Airlines banned a passenger who was bragging that he was basically not a PUSSY for wearing a mask on the flight. And I thought, I wonder if they're going to invite him also to speak. So I think it's going to be a convention full of hate, which is what we actually saw 4 years ago. Yeah, and hate that was followed up with action, and with putting kids in cages and just some of the worst moments that our country has ever seen.
So now we're going to turn to a couple of segments to lighten things up a little bit, but also give some needed advice to those Republicans. Obviously, if we do our job over these next few days, we're going to have to offer some creative solutions to Republicans who are going to be in trouble and looking for what comes next in their careers. So you and I will each get to answer from this set, and we'll start right now. This week, the DNC has heard musical performances, including Bruce Springsteen, John Legend, and Maggie Rogers. Donald Trump has been repeatedly sued by performers who don't want him using their music. Name a song that you think would be fitting to play at next week's Republican National Convention.
I think their theme song should be this one. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye. I think it'd be a good song.
That's a good one. Okay, I came up with "Closing Time" by Semisonic, which along the same lines. Closing time, one last time for a narcissistic egomaniac, corrupt, failed businessman to govern America. So finish it up. What do you?
I like that one too.
Good, right? Okay. Next, the other ones, "It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want To" by Leslie Gore was a close contender, or "Wrecking Ball" by Miley Cyrus, but talking about America instead of a relationship. Okay, next question. If we do our work over these next 70 days, we can elect Joe Biden. That means that some folks will be looking for the next acts in their professional life. Name a job that Jared Kushner could apply for when he's no longer skirting all types of ethics laws while working for his father-in-law at the White House, or, as Ivanka Trump has recently dubbed it, find something new. What would that be for Jared?
I think any job in Saudi Arabia, because clearly he's shown he's more loyal to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia than to the United States. And there's media stories where you have the Crown Prince saying that he has Jared Kushner in his back pocket. So I think Jared would do well in Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely. The VoteVets team came up with human doormat at Trump Tower so that Donald Trump will walk all over him. That was our collective effort, but there, a lot of process of elimination, nothing that requires filling out a form because he clearly couldn't get the SF-86 together. Nothing with a background check because clearly he couldn't pass a background check for his security clearance either. And there's got to be some intersection of Goya beans and corrupt foreign real estate transaction that, some type of fintech thing.
He could be a salesperson for the MyPillow company. I think that'd be something he could do. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. What a world. Okay. Or something. The other one was something like a new product under Ivanka's clothing brand, but I didn't think that one through. Oh, the last one, management consultant to the NRA, because he could really take them in the direction that they need to go for America's sake. So that's the last of this one. Okay, next question. Mitch McConnell may very well lose his Senate majority and or his own job on November 3rd. What's a good title for Mitch McConnell's memoir about his time in the Senate?
How to Harm Millions of Americans in 3 Easy Steps. That's a good title.
It's good. Okay, we wanted to make a turtle joke, so here's our first one was Shell Out, my time on the front lines of torching American democracy.
It's a good one.
Second one was To Shell and Back, getting the worst tired eyes in America in exchange for a bunch of 30-year-old law students on every circuit court in America. That was
I like that one too.
Okay, all right. I broke the Senate and all I got was a bunch of unqualified federal judges. That was another one. But no matter what, we decided that it would only be released as an audiobook because actual books have spines.
Good one.
There you go. All right. Last one in this category. If Donald Trump loses, there will be an open contest for the Republican Party's presidential nomination in 2024. What's a good slogan for the likely campaign of? And you can choose Tom Cotton, Mike Pompeo, or Mike Pence.
I think Mike Pence's slogan should be the same failed policies, but less drama. That's a good slogan for him.
That really is. I think that is what he would probably run on. Okay, we came up with Tom Cotton, make America want to start a catastrophic, stupid, endless war again. No love for Senator Cotton over here at VoteVets. Or Mike Pompeo, make America find Ukraine on a map, for that weird NPR interview that he had. Okay, all right. Next section, this is called Who Tweeted It? Twitter has taken on a whole new level of significance over the past few years, in part because the president is a massive troll who mainlines cable news. You are a prolific tweeter and leader in the resistance. So we're going to put your knowledge to the test in a game called Who Tweeted It? I'm going to read a tweet, and you will have to guess who wrote it from the following four choices: Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Judge Jeanine from Fox News, or Sarah Palin. Are you ready?
All right. Yep.
Okay. The first one, quote, "Yuck it up, media and pals. While America is buried in taxes and a fight for our rights, the permanent political class in D.C. dresses up and has a prom to make fun of themselves. No need for that. We get the real joke." Followed by a second tweet, quote, "That hashtag White House Correspondents' Dinner was pathetic. The rest of America is out there working our asses off while these DC ass clowns throw themselves a hashtag nerd prom." Who do you think?
Judge Jeanine.
No, it's a good guess, but it was actually Sarah Palin.
Okay.
2008. Yeah. Smart thoughts from her. Okay. Next one. Quote, "It's Friday, period. How many bald eagles did wind turbines kill today? They are an environmental and aesthetic disaster."
Trump.
You're right. Can you guess the year that he wrote that one, though?
2012.
No, 2012. It was 2012. It was a weird thing doing the research for this to realize that the wind turbines kill thing has been a long obsession of the president's.
Very cool.
Okay.
I'm not some bizarre person that actually has been reading his tweets since 2012. I just want to
thank you for the record. Okay, this next one. Quote, "Trees falling, bamboo breaking on my property. The winds are angry," the emoji with the nostrils breathing smoke, "howling and unrelenting. My American flag still standing. Prayer emoji, thumbs up, hashtag tornado warning."
Judge Jeanine.
That was Judge Jeanine. What gave it away?
The emojis.
The emojis, yep. That's a classic tell. Okay, here we go. Next one. Quote, "Twitter allowed someone to invade my text with a disgusting anti-president message. The same thing, hyphen, period, no space, hyphen, occurred later, and it didn't happen. Don't tell me they are not committed card-carrying anti-Trumpers. Time magazine also may fit that description. All caps, fairness, please."
That sounds like Rudy Giuliani.
That was it the clearly trying to use voice to text, but then failing? Was that the? You can kind of see it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now this one is from a Facebook post, but the same options for authors. Quote, "Diplomacy via Twitter is the lazy, ineffectual, naive, and insulting way for America's leaders to deal with major national and international issues. It's embarrassing."
Huh. Sarah Palin?
Sarah Palin. Yep. It was part of a Facebook post titled, all caps, "Obama twittering teeters towards chaos," and reads, quote, "This photo says it all about the Obama administration's reliance on junior high-like tweets and tickles in place of a foreign policy rooted in peace through strength."
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
I guess they didn't used to like the foreign policy on Twitter thing that the president enjoys. Okay, final one. This might be well known enough that it's obvious. Quote, "Amazing how the haters and losers keep tweeting the name expletive face Von Clownstick," unquote, "like they are so original and like no one else is doing it."
Sounds like Trump.
It was. Do you know the context? Do you remember what that was from?
I don't.
There's a great Twitter back and forth between Jon Stewart and Donald Trump in 2013 after when Jon Stewart called him F-face Von Clownstick and clearly struck a nerve. Okay, well that concludes our Who Tweeted It segment. One final bit before we go.
Since I did so well, is John Stoltz now going to be my voicemail outgoing message? Does he agree to do things like that?
Yes, John. Yeah, John has to record your voicemail greeting for you in exchange. He's also very bullish on VoteVets branded coffee mugs this week.
Very good.
We did a morning live show this morning, and he noted that my coffee mug did not have a VoteVets logo on it. So coming to the VoteVets store soon. All right, we're going to close out with some trivia questions about our nominee, Vice President Joe Biden. You'll get 3 or 4 choices for each. Here's the first one. Joe Biden owns this car given to him as a wedding gift from his father, who worked at a car dealership. Was it A, a 1970 Ford Mustang convertible, B, a 1967 Corvette Stingray, or C, a 1968 Shelby Cobra?
The 67 Stingray.
Yep, it's good. That was a cool video that he put out.
That was very cool.
For a spin. I think we should more of that.
My first car was a Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. It looked really cool, not very fast.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is a cool looking car. I was watching the Veep HBO Correspondents' Dinner segment again this morning with Joe Biden and Julia Louis-Dreyfus driving around in the yellow convertible. So got me excited that she's going to be included in the program tonight. Okay. Cool. At the end of the Obama administration, when Joe Biden left office, he rode an Amtrak train home and told reporters that the conductors had calculated up to that point in his career, he had taken this many round trip rides between Delaware and DC. Was the answer 5,100, 7,450, 8,200, or 17,300?
17,300.
No, I threw that one in there because it sounded like it could be too much. It was 8,200, which is
wow.
I think I don't know how many Amtrak rides I can probably 50 maybe, but
less than that I've taken.
It's a lot of train time, but cafe car is a nice perk. Okay, final one. In 1972, at age 29, Joe Biden defeated this incumbent Republican senator, becoming the 5th youngest person ever elected to the U.S. Senate. That senator's name was A, Cale Boggs, B, Walter O'Halloran, or C, Elbert James?
Boggs.
That is correct. I thought that was an interesting name, so I tried to come up with some other things that sounded like they could have been a senator in 1929. All right, Congressman, thanks for your time tonight. You did very well in those games, so you are the VoteVets live champion of the week. It's a very honorary title, but we really appreciate it. I want to turn back before we go to a serious note. Any final words that you want to put out to people who are watching? Obviously, the VoteVets Network, we have a lot of people who are veterans and military family members themselves, but also a lot of people who care about those issues and care about national security, who are following this election really closely. What's your message to them as we wrap up this DNC tonight and sprint towards November?
First is thank you. Thank you for what VoteVets does, for what everyone watching this call does, as we help to restore democracy and keep fighting the good fight. The House is going to come into emergency session this Saturday to vote on legislation to restore the post office and to provide funding to the post office. That is not a partisan issue, and it shouldn't be. I'm very pleased that Ohio Senator Rob Portman has said he will support the $25 billion of funding to the post office. And it's because it's affecting all Americans. It's affecting Americans who live in rural areas, those who need prescription drugs. It's affecting veterans, people who need the Social Security checks, and on and on and on. At the same time, I think that what Postmaster General DeJoy and the Board of Governors have done may in fact be illegal. I'm a former prosecutor, and if you look at the laws, it's very clear. It's illegal to willfully slow down mail delivery, and it's illegal to use your official authority to interfere in elections. If Postmaster General DeJoy is slowing down mail delivery to mess up mail-in ballots, that implicates both statutes. And that's why earlier this Monday, Representative Hakeem Jeffries and I wrote a letter asking the FBI to investigate. At the same time, there are things that you can do. So if you are going to vote by mail, make sure you vote early and have your friends and family members vote early. If you do that one thing, then all of this sabotage of the post office won't in fact matter to you or your family or friends, because you'll get your ballot in on time. So if you're going to vote by mail, please request your mail-in ballot right now if your state requires you to do so. And if you're in a state where they're going to send out the ballots to you, make sure you turn it in as soon as possible. And finally, if you're going to vote in person, make a plan. And if you have a plan, then you're much more likely to vote. And if everybody votes this November, Democrats will win. So thank you again for having me on. Look forward to working with you as we make America a even better place to be.
Well said. Thank you so much, Congressman Ted Liu. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Tomorrow, join us right back here at 9 a.m., where we'll be joined by U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth, coming off of her primetime DNC speech, and former Secretary of State John Kerry. We'll close that session out with Leo Cruz of the Biden-Harris campaign and Ron Pierce of the Democratic National Committee. We'll see you then. Have a great evening and enjoy tonight's final evening of the 2020 Democratic National Convention at the top of the hour, 9 p.m. Eastern.